Well, welcome back to our family worship series today, looking at Hebrews 5, verse 11 through 14, and we've reviewed that passage together. Today we want to get into the meat of the passage, thinking specifically about some words in verse 11. But let me read the whole passage for us first. Hebrews 5, beginning in verse 11. About this we have much to say, and it is hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the basic principles of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. But solid food is for the mature, and those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. And today we want to consider specifically just this little tiny phrase in verse 11. We want to think about that phrase, dull of hearing. It says that the readers of this book have become dull of hearing, and we want to think specifically about the meaning of that, because it is easy for us to become dull of hearing. Now, literally, the Greek text talks about being lazy in hearing and sluggish in hearing, and I think that's an important distinction to point out, because if you're dull of hearing, you could be dealing simply with an inability to understand. It could be an intelligence problem, right? But when you're talking about somebody being lazy in hearing or sluggish in terms of their response to the Word of God, it's not an issue of intelligence, it's an issue of desire. It's an issue of the will. And so when you're talking about somebody who is lazy in their hearing, it's because they're not interested in the things of the Lord. They're not motivated to pursue those things. So we want to talk about the implications of someone who's lazy about the Word of God. There are lots of things that we can get excited about. You can think about the things that your children love to talk about. Maybe it's sports, maybe it's stories that they've read, maybe it's a favorite movie or something like that. There's things that your children will be drawn to talk about. And you can show them by using one of those examples. This is an area where we're enthusiastic to hear about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to have enthusiasm about different subject matters. But what you want to have them see is that if you're excited about other things outside the Word of God, but you're not excited about the Word of God in that same way, or even more than that, then that indicates a laziness in your thinking when it comes to the Word of God. If there's a failure to be attentive to family worship, a failure to be attentive to the Word of God as it's preached, then you have a problem of laziness of hearing. Now, for your little ones, of course, that's going to be a different story, and you're going to not be too hard on them because they're just little and their attention spans are small. But when your children are older, especially if they've made a profession of faith of their own, you really want to challenge them not to be lazy in their hearing of the Word of God. Are they interested in the Word of God? What are some ways that you can pursue the Word of God? What are some ways that laziness about the Word of God are manifested? And this can be a discussion that you have with your children. I would say even with your children, say 5, 6, 7 and up, they're going to be able to track with you as you talk about those things. So set these things before them. We do not want to be dull of hearing, as it says in the book of Hebrews here. We want to have access to the Word of God. We want it to be plain. We don't want to be those who have milk. We want to be those who are eating solid food of the Word of God. And so challenge them with that. Set it before them daily. There's need to pursue the Word of God. Pray for your kids. Keep teaching them from day to day. And I'll see you tomorrow.